Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Something slightly different for you today. I had a conversation with my good friend Katie Grasby on her podcast Redefine the other day, and I thought I'd share it with you. We spoke about self-sabotage and why we know what to do but just don't do it, amongst many other things. I hope you enjoyed the episode and go check out Katie Grasby and her Redefine podcast. All right. Enjoy.
Today I'm really excited. We've got our first guest on the podcast. It's Matty Hill, an ex-colleague who's a PT and also an NLP mindset coach. How are you, Matty?
I'm good, thanks, Katie. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Oh no, it's super good. It's super nice not to be talking to myself for once.
But it's also weird having this kind of conversation over Zoom as opposed to in person.
I know. Normally we try
weird.
and meet once a week for a sanity coffee, and this seems really, really strange. So we're probably going to sound a bit awkward, but I'm sure we'll get into our flow, won't we?
Yeah, we'll be fine. It'll be good.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Amazing. So first of all, will you explain what actually is NLP?
Yeah. So it sounds quite fancy and complicated. NLP basically stands for, it's called neuro-linguistic programming, and it's really just, it's a study basically of how your thoughts, language and behaviors all link together. It's kind of like understanding how your brain works, so why you think and act the way you do, and then retraining those patterns so that you can stop getting in your own way. You can kind of, if I simplify it, and this is simplifying it, but almost like the language of the brain, right? And, you know, if I give you an example that's quite relevant for both of, you know, for what we do with our jobs. If I was to say, I don't know what to do, or sorry, I know what to do, but I just don't do it. That is what we call your conscious mind and your unconscious mind. So with NLP, we work primarily with what we call your unconscious mind or your subconscious mind. Mm-hmm. And the best way that I can describe that for you is if I were to get you to imagine an iceberg, for example, your conscious mind would represent the tip of the iceberg, but your unconscious would represent everything below the surface of the water. And it's your unconscious mind that drives 95% of your thoughts, actions, and behaviors. And so with that example of, I know what to do, but I just don't do it, that's the conflict between consciously you saying, well, I know what it is that I've got to do, but unconsciously something deep down is inside you that's stopping you from doing it. And it'll be an unconscious belief or pattern that's stopping that from happening.
Because obviously, like doing the job that we do, I think a lot of my clients really struggle with that. Obviously, if you're talking about, say, fat loss specifically, or even just being fit and healthy and going to the gym, we all know what we've got to do. You know, we all know, like, if you want to lose weight, you've got to be in a calorie deficit and move more. But it's clearly not that simple, because people struggle time and time again, don't they?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily
exactly.
because they don't want it badly enough, as obviously you hear quite a lot, you know, or you mustn't want it. It really isn't. It's like you say, there's almost a mental blocker stopping you.
Yeah. I mean, and what's important to understand, I think, as well, so to give a bit of science context behind the conscious and unconscious mind. Up until the age of 7, your conscious brain doesn't exist. So you'll pick things up that you will store, and these can be really innocuous things. So a really good example, and it's a bit of a story, so bear with me with it. But if we were to say, for example, little Johnny is going to the supermarket with his dad, and he's maybe 5 or 6 years old, and he wants a toy. He's walking around the supermarket and gets to the till and sees the toys at eye level for him, right? And he's like, Daddy, I want a toy. Now, a bit of a backstory behind Johnny's dad. Johnny's dad is just had his credit card statement through the post. He's just noticed that the credit card bill is higher than what it normally would be. So he's stressed about that. He's worrying how he's going to be able to pay that. He's maybe worrying about his job. His boss is talking about potentially downsizing. Does that mean that there's going to be redundancies? What's going to happen for him? So that's on his mind as well. And then there's also the argument that he had with his wife before he left the house. So all these normal day-to-day things are happening, and Johnny's dad is dealing with them. So Johnny's dad gets to the checkout, and little Johnny wants a toy, and he says, "Daddy, can I have this toy?" And he says, just innocuously, just to try and placate him, "No, you've not behaved well enough to get a toy. You don't deserve a toy." Yeah. Now, little Johnny, sorry, I feel like I need to. Little Johnny doesn't know and can't process what's going on in his dad's brain. All he hears is, you're not good enough. You don't deserve this. And he ties that and holds that belief. And then that's happening subconsciously every day in the life since. From that point, there will be things and moments that happens that reaffirms that belief that he's not good enough. And now when you fast forward into adult life, that belief is sitting there unconsciously. You might not even be able to necessarily define what that is. And if I talk about limiting beliefs and self-limiting beliefs and stuff like that, most commonly it is something to do with either not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, not deserving certain things. So when we actually think of this in a fitness context and maybe even a weight loss context, if we're thinking, I really do want to lose weight, there might be something subconsciously that's telling you that, well, you failed last time, you're going to fail again, or you always fail, you never see things through, you're not good enough to feel happy. And yes, in terms of eat less, move more, which we know is what needs to happen for weight loss to occur, there is so much going on mentally that we might not even know about.
So like under the sea in terms of the iceberg.
It's under the surface. It's below the surface level. That is why we're not changing how consciously we want to change. We're being held back, and that's part of what NLP does. Is it'll help you realign the conscious and the unconscious by working on those issues that are in the unconscious that are holding you back and syncing it back with what you want to do consciously.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting, and it shows like how much psychology there is going under the radar and things that you don't necessarily take into consideration, and then therefore like punish yourself a bit afterwards. You know, it's like, oh, like you said, I'm failing. Or I can think of an example when I was younger. My dad just used to call me Chubbs. I was a bonny girl, don't get me wrong, but young little girl. And he was so Chubbs. And my sister was always really tall and skinny, even as being a tiny little kid. And I think that's probably why all my life I've chased fat loss. Not so much now I've done the work, but I think I've always had it in my head, well, you're always going to be the bigger one. And my default, whenever I'm struggling, it's always like, oh, do you know what? I'll go on another diet. That's what I'll do. And that's what it was like through my 20s. And because I just had it in my head, you're a bigger girl, which is crazy. Yeah. But it's my only sort of example that I can use. And he meant nothing by it. It was just a nickname. Do you know what I mean? But like you say, I couldn't like challenge that or, you know, sort it out in my own head about how it was. That's all it was. There was no malice or sort of intonation behind it.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is it often is so innocuous that as an adult, and especially as an adult who's done some of the work, gone on this bit of a personal development journey and kind of understanding more about how they think and why they might do the actions that they do. You know, it is often you could look back at it and be like, why did that affect me so much? But it's because of the little things that would have just added up over time that you couldn't understand and process when they happened. And that conscious part of your brain doesn't fully form until you're around 25. So even things that happen in your teenage years can still affect you. And if it reaffirms that belief that you already held when you were younger, it is just going to make the disconnect more, and that's not to. I sometimes try and catch myself when I, especially when I give that example, because I'm not a parent. So
I was just going to say that how many parents listening to this are shitting themselves going over the number of years for excuses when my kids have been in my ear, and I've just gone, oh, because you're too noisy, be quiet.
Exactly.
Oh my God, I've damaged them.
I'm so conscious of saying that, because I'm not saying this in a way of telling somebody how to parent. That's not my job. And as someone who doesn't have kids, I can only try to understand what it would be to be in that situation. One of the biggest things that I always say whenever I'm with a client and whenever I'm talking about NLP, it's almost like the rule we almost have is that everyone is just doing the best that they can with the resources they have at their disposal. So whenever I really do want to make a point of me saying all these things is not ever attacking how you parent a child or that kind of dynamic, but it's just to explain in factual, but also as simplistic as I can, how that message is taken on board by the unconscious mind, and then how we can now, as fully developed adults, go into the process of reframing that, changing those patterns, changing those that belief, if you like. I gave an example the other day, and I put it on social media about how beliefs can change. You might hold this belief that you're not good enough, and you might think that this is going to be with you for the rest of your life. But as quickly as you can form a belief, you can also get rid of ones that have been existing for a long time. And depending on who's listening to this and where they're listening to it, if you've got very young children around this point, maybe just turn this down a little bit, because one of the common examples I give is that as a child, you believed in Santa. You believed that Santa existed. You believed that Santa could visit every single house on Christmas Eve and deliver a present. But as an adult, that Santa doesn't exist. But how does that work? Your logic brain doesn't exist at that age, and so that's how everything. It's why kids are so gullible. That's why every little thing is taken on board, and
it's reality.
It's reality. It's their reality. But as quickly as you no longer believe that Santa exists, you can also do that with beliefs that you might have about yourself, about not being worthy, not being good enough, not being successful, whatever it might be. And those beliefs can intertwine to stop you from reaching the fitness goals that you might have.
Right. We've picked a very sore subject there, because I had to tell Ben last weekend that Santa didn't exist, thinking he had a bit of a hunch. Bear in mind, he's nearly 12 and he burst out crying. So he actually truly believed. So I'm the absolute antichrist now in my house. And it's like, oh, Santa, you've lied to me for all these years, Mummy. He found a load of Santa letters in his, I don't know, somewhere the other day, and waved them in my face and was like, you need to explain these. So I'm just like, that's a really bad example for me. It's really touched in here.
No, I think I was probably a similar age to Ben then when I realized, and for me it was a case of, I don't know whether it's still a thing, but we used to, when we got homework from school, my mum used to have to sign my homework diary to say that I'd done it. And I remember leaving a letter out for Santa and asking for his signature, and it was my mum's handwriting.
No, we used to do it. We used to write it with our
two together.
Oh, you see.
My mum obviously, she obviously never got that memo.
Yeah,
but
or do it on a computer.
Yeah,
easy. But yeah,
that ruined that moment for me. So
uh,
I feel Ben's pain there.
oh, I know.
But
But that makes a load of sense. That's a really good sort of way to explain it about how, like, from a child, these beliefs can be formed. But you were saying about undoing them and things. So in terms of like things that we encounter, say, with fitness and fat loss, such as like self-sabotaging and, you know, comfort eating or perfectionism, all or nothing is something that a lot of my clients like really, really struggle with. How would that relate back to NLP? I know that's
so I
quite
would
broad.
say, yeah, I'll try and explain it as best I can. I think so what we have to think of with when it comes to self-sabotage, I'll tackle self-sabotage
Yeah,
first. So self-sabotage is essentially a form of self-protection.
yeah,
It just our brain is hardwired to with a negativity bias.
yeah.
So ancestrally, that's how we survived. You
Mm,
know, you had to be on your guard,
yeah,
otherwise you wouldn't survive.
yeah,
And so we're hardwired with this negativity bias, and it's often for self-protection. Unfortunately, our brain is trying to do its job to protect us, but it's not always the best way to do it.
yeah,
And it's also not helpful in a lot of ways because in order for us to grow, we need to get out of that so-called comfort zone,
yeah.
which for our brain is scary and uncertain, and that means danger. So it
And it's a
will,
lot of effort, isn't it? Because our body's like a machine. So our body wants the easiest option. So doing what you've always
yes.
done, like in terms of habits and, well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't go for a walk at 6 o'clock at night. I don't do that. I'm not doing it. So
Yes.
if that's like a new expectation, you've got to walk so many steps. It's like that protection, isn't it? It's like, no, we don't
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And again, maybe there's some sort of underlying belief that's stopping
Yeah.
you from wanting to do that.
Mm,
But for sure, change for the brain means uncertainty. Uncertainty will mean danger, and it's that way of protecting you. So in terms of changing that, one of the first things that you can do is just have that realization, have that notice, try and catch yourself when you're
yeah.
in that situation. So if you try and think of an example where you're trying to keep yourself safe, but if you let's think, what would be a good example? If you're trying to, I don't know, let's take adopt a new if we talk about adopting a new habit, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
you mentioned steps before.
Yeah.
It's it's getting yourself, catching yourself, whatever the story you're telling yourself that you can't do it. It's catching it and noticing it, and then trying to reframe it.
Yeah, it's
That's
acknowledging it, isn't it? Acknowledging the thought, actually spending some time reflecting on it and thinking, well, is this fact or is it not?
yes,
Can I actually not go out now and do those extra steps? Like,
yeah,
or is this just me telling me the story that I can't,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. And again,
Yeah,
it's like what I was saying about hardwired for negativity. If the reason that you don't want to go out at
raining.
6 p.m. because it's because it's raining, it's like,
Yeah,
well, yeah, it might be raining. That's a little bit of discomfort, but
yeah,
it's not the end of the world. It's really I really don't like using the word excuse, but you know what I mean. I'm
yeah,
trying to think of
yeah.
a
And
better
that's
word.
how
It
it
is
can
that
be.
excuse to not do the thing that
Yeah,
will get you out of your
yeah.
comfort zone.
And that's why I think it's really important to have clear goals as well. And I'm not just talking about long term or short term, but if you aren't really dialed into that goal that you want to achieve, then you're not going to actually be that bothered to make that change, are you? I'm not talking about just fat loss here, but I think you've really got to want to do the thing,
Yes, you
haven't
do.
you?
Yeah, absolutely. And you do have to want to do it,
Mm,
and you have to communicate with yourself to make sure that, like I was saying before, that the conscious is aligned with the unconscious, and it has to be a goal that you do really want so
yeah,
that you can make the changes unconsciously
to
that
get there.
help you get there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think
And
that's what a lot of us really guilty of not doing is checking in with ourselves. I get to the end of the day when I sit down, at 7, and I'm like, have I thought about how I feel, or have I thought about actually I'm really tired, or I'll go, oh, my feet are killing, and it's taken me till 7 at night to realise. Do you know what I mean? We
yeah.
very rarely check in with ourselves.
Exactly. And just to go back on the on what we were saying just a second ago, then like a part of that change as well has to come from changing the identity. So
Yeah,
it's all well and good adopting the behavior. So if we take the example of someone who wants to lose weight, adopting the behavior of someone who wants to lose weight is all well and good. But if you don't adopt the identity of
yeah,
someone who wants to
yeah,
lose weight, that's not going to help you.
yeah,
Again, I'll use a different example that might help it sink in a little bit. If we was to talk about smoking, for example, and
yeah,
if someone who'd recently quit smoking, if I was to say to that person, "Do you want a cigarette?"
yeah,
If their reply was, "I've quit smoking," um, that's not as strong as the
I don't
person
smoke.
saying back, "I don't smoke,"
Yeah,
or "I'm not a
yeah,
smoker." Because the person who's quit smoking but adopts the identity or has taken the identity that I am not a smoker or I don't smoke is so much more powerful and
yeah,
stronger
yeah.
than I've
It's
I've
more self-belief, isn't it? It's like, oh, when
exactly.
we've all been at parties or wherever, and someone's gone, oh, do you want another drink? Oh, do you want a piece of cake? Oh, I'm trying to be good.
Yeah.
It's not a clear answer. It's almost like, oh, convince me to eat it, because you've kind of
Yes.
already made your mind up to eat it.
Yes. And a lot of the times in that example, for that, a lot of the times it's just looking for the almost the encouragement and the acceptance to say,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's like when you sat around a dinner table and the waiter or waitress comes over and asks if you want dessert, and you all look around the tables like, oh, are you having it?
yeah.
I would
Who's
if
having
you
a
will.
starter? Oh, is everyone having a
Yeah,
starter? You never just lead with yes, thanks, or no. Yeah, there's always a bit of like kerfuffle, isn't there?
yeah, and it's so it's always like asking and looking for permission, and I think part of that is how society is and how we've kind of been conditioned a little bit,
Yeah,
especially around food. Like we might be jumping around a little bit here, but I
yeah,
remember you saying before about talking about good and bad foods and stuff like that. And like,
yeah,
if we link back to unconscious beliefs, a lot of it has been put on us by
yeah,
society. You said at the start how, chubs was
yeah,
what you got called, but how many people will have been affected by the fact that, you know, we had so many different fad diets. I mean,
yeah,
I I can remember in my family, my experience of weight loss in my family comes from Special K diet, red
yeah,
and green days at Slimming World,
yeah.
Weight Watchers and points, and
Detox.
yeah, and then your crazy fads like your cabbage soup diet and your whatevers,
Yeah,
Atkins and stuff, and that's what if you're brought up around that, if you're brought up in that environment and that's what you associate with weight
mm,
loss, it's
mm.
then completely understandable why later down the line you have these almost tendencies to want to revert back to, well,
Yeah,
I,
because I've
I
noticed
need
with
to
a
burn
lot.
1,200 calories to lose weight or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, if you'll notice this with a lot of your clients, I have clients or have had clients more in the past that have snatched from about 5 different diets. Well, I don't eat bread, and oh, I'm on this many calories, and
Yeah.
I can't have fruit because it's sugar. And it's like they've plucked elements from almost every single diet over the 90s, over 2000s, and congealed it into this one big ball that is entirely unsustainable, unscientific. A lot of the time, I'll just be like, "Well, why do you do that?" And no one can
Hmm.
actually say, "Oh, because that's what you're meant to do, isn't it?" There's no
Yeah.
science, there's no evidence, and it's just like you say, it's a belief that's come from ages ago. And the clever people, intelligent people that cannot explain why they've spent the last 20 years doing these things. Because,
Yeah.
like you say, it's just been almost in their core for so long.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it's just deep rooted, and it's beliefs. It's tied to a belief that you have. And we have so many different beliefs about how the world works, and a lot of these beliefs will come from parents. That's just the reality, because it's that's
Yeah.
how you're brought up, but also the world and how what in your corner, how the world is presented to you at that point, and then what you then go and take from that and go on into your life.
And that's
But
super scary now, looking at what children are exposed to on social media. That's really scary now
yeah, absolutely. I mean,
because
that's a whole
that's a
different.
whole different podcast, probably not for us
Yeah,
as well, but
it,
it's
it's
insane.
it is, and unfortunately, we live in that attention-driven world now, where you almost have to say something to stop the scroll. And the best and easy, or maybe not the best, but one of the easiest ways to do that is with something provocative or outrageous or
Mm, mm,
outlandish,
extreme.
extreme, whatever it
Mm,
might be. And especially in a fitness context, it's why we see the rise of people demonizing food groups, going on these radical diets. It's because it stands away from the norm, it stands away from the crowd. And if it gets a particular result for a particular person, that can be amplified to say, well, you'll get this if you
yeah.
follow
Oh
this
God.
diet, this is how you'll look, and this is how you'll be. And
Yeah.
it, I guess part of our job is to rein that in,
Navigate.
but
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely scary. Social media is a
Oh,
scary world for kids. I definitely I would not want to I wouldn't want to be at an impressionable age and just getting into social media, because
yeah. It really scares me
it's
about my
it's quite
children. I think
scary.
I didn't get a pager till I had a pager at 21. That was it. A pager on my belt. I thought I was so cool. That was about as far as my technology goes, and unfortunately, that's why I'm so bad at it now. The one thing, like obviously, we've gone off at quite a few tangents and stuff, but one thing that I do think is really, really relevant to clients that I work with, because obviously, generally, it's people over 40, busy. What is the impact of stress on all of this, and the nervous system? How does that like have an impact on change?
A lot of it comes to do with if you find yourself in fight or flight, and
Mm,
you know chronic stress,
mm,
burnout, constant self-criticism, comparison will
mm.
keep you in that fight or flight
Yeah.
uh, physiology.
So
So
what simple strategies would you sort of suggest? Like, how would you sort of tell us to manage that?
I think so. I used to, if I look at how I operate now, and think, and how I think now, 5, 10 years ago, I probably would have laughed at myself. But I think what I've found in my own personal experience and working with other people,
Mm,
finding those moments where you can just sit and meditate, but meditate is not necessarily what you might think I mean
yeah.
by meditation.
Like
So
sat there chanting.
yeah, I'm not saying that you have to sit cross-legged and on your way to peace,
Yeah.
but meditation, in however that allows you to be present,
Yeah.
to get out of the story that you're telling yourself,
Yeah.
because we're so busy we're so constantly on, and I feel like the way the world has gone, it's kind of amplified that more.
Mm,
COVID had the impact where now so many people work from home, but that's kind of blurred the boundaries of
yeah.
work-life balance.
Yeah.
Technology is obviously advanced, so that's also made
Mm,
the fact that you can get emails on your phone,
mm,
and you can be out and about, and an email or a call come through, you kind of are constantly switched on. So finding those moments where you can just be be at peace,
mm.
and whatever that looks like, your meditation may take the form of going for a walk in nature. It might take the form of going to the gym, going for a run, doing some form of movement, anything that allows you to take, even if it's 15 minutes, just time out of your head and fully into something else that takes your full attention and allows you to just reset.
Yeah.
Something else that I think is really hugely beneficial, which I think is not done enough by people, is journalism.
I knew you were going to say that.
We've had this conversation so many times that
my pain point here.
a lot of it's always like Matty's answer to everything is just journal about it.
Dear diary.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I say so, it's about asking. Well, one, I think it's about asking the right questions of yourself, and again, it just comes to that moment of stillness, of just being able to sit and download what is in your head onto a piece of paper or onto an app in your phone if needs be, just something for you to be able to put what's going on in your head, get it out of your head and on some form of paper or whatever in front of you so that you can see it and then start to try and understand it. And, you know, behavioral change changing behavior isn't just like a mindset, it's also physiological. That's why I said about some form of movement. Like maybe your meditation takes some form of movement. For some people, the meditation might actually be just breathing and meditating. But getting yourself into that position where you can just calm and just have those moments of stillness and calmness to down-regulate and try and deal with the stresses that life throws at you.
Yeah, and decompress. I think the thing is, it's always like when you've got a problem, like you can ramp up and you can get carried away in your head. And ultimately, whenever you talk to someone, even if it's a little bit of a meltdown, you know, not talking about anyone in particular, not that I do this a lot, but how much better do you feel when you've spoken to someone about something? You know, it's like, you feel like a weight's gone off. You think, why have I carried that to that point that it's actually just fallen out of me in such a, uncompromising way? And I feel that sometimes, like you saying about writing down, that could never happen in my house. I could never find a pen. People always steal my pens, but I think even if it's just taking that pause at the end of the day, one of the things I say to my clients is do an evening reflection. Now, there is a sheet for this that people can do, but I don't do the sheet. I take some time and try and think about it at the end of the day and think, right, check in with yourself. How do you feel? What went well, what didn't go so well, and what is your intention for tomorrow? As in, not like stupid, it doesn't have to be a big lofty thing. It doesn't have to be something that's going to change the world, but it can be as simple as, right, after I finish work at the gym, I'm going to go and train myself, have lunch, and then go home and do my online work or whatever. You know, it's almost like just an intention, and it just gives you a bit of clarity, a bit of space, and how do I actually feel? So
exactly, and I always say back to you, that is exactly what journaling is. You're just not doing it in the form that you might think it takes place. A lot of people think, you know, the whole Dear Diary thing. A lot of people think it's like that, but it isn't. It's simply asking yourself those kind of reflective questions, but also not necessarily that. It could simply be writing down 3 things that have happened today that you are grateful for, because again, gratitude is one of those things that's so important that again, we talk about stress and being in that fight or flight state. A good way to down regulate again is to have gratitude for what you have. And you know, again, saying that has brought another thought into my head. So again, we could be bouncing around all over here. So if that's what it sounds like, there is a stream of consciousness coming from here. So I wanted to say with the whole, we were talking earlier I feel like I've got ADHD, by the way, because I've just had a thought in my head and it's just completely gone.
Oh God,
Um,
welcome to really. I've been in your 40-year-old woman.
all right, is this what brain fog feels like?
Possibly, I don't know. I feel like I've been like this from about 25.
The thought will come back to me, and
Okay.
when it does, I'll shout it
I think
again.
that
But
would be
yeah.
quite an interesting future podcast, though, to be honest, to talk about journaling, because that is something that really is not my forte. I don't feel I'm really equipped to talk about stuff like that. And I
Mhm.
do realize that I do the gratitude side of things, absolutely, even if I'm driving to work. Again, it doesn't have to be this whole ceremony that people get in the head of like, I'm
Yeah,
going to talk
no,
about
not
this.
at all.
But I do it when I drive to work and it's no one's around. It's really quiet. It can be really dark at the moment, but it's beautiful. And it's just taking that moment and thinking, oh, do you know what? The sky looks so nice. And
Yeah,
I'm so glad, like, everyone's asleep. I didn't wake anyone up. They're all asleep and they're all comfy and they're all warm. It's just about having little moments like that and feeling lucky for what you have. Even if it is just, oh, it's not raining today. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have to
yeah,
be super, super deep, does it?
no, no, exactly. And it, the point I wanted to make is just semi come back to me. So I mentioned at the start about language and how we talk, how we communicate
Yeah.
is a big part of that. And you know, if we talk about behavior change, if we talk about, you know, again, let's use weight loss because
Mm,
it's the most common problem. How you talk to yourself about a specific issue is so important. And
yeah.
the linking into the gratitude thing, it's like changing a simple reframe, a simple change of language from I should go to the gym.
I get
I
to.
get to.
Yeah.
I get to go to the. I get to go and spend time outside. I get to eat this whatever food it
Yeah,
might
no, I'm
be.
lucky to
Just
be
a
able to
simple.
prepare my own meal or
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's massive. Or like I can't do that. I remember hearing a quote, if you say tell yourself you can't, you won't.
Mhm.
And it really is. If you can,
Yeah.
yeah, because why would you try if that's like you say, if that's your core belief of I will never get that result, you're never
Yeah.
gonna actually fully try to the maximum of your potential, are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
otherwise you just say, well, this is a waste of time. It's not gonna happen, is it? It's
Yeah.
like it's that negative spiral, isn't it? So I can really see like the impact of like, yeah, how your thoughts manifest in your actions and therefore your results, whatever they may be.
Yeah, and it's like I said before about catching yourself. So catch yourself when you use that language. Catch yourself when you have some thought that comes into your head that's
Not
negative
helpful.
and not
Yeah.
helpful and not getting you in the direction you want to go. You know,
Not
so
moving you forward, it's holding you
not
back,
moving
Matty.
exactly. It's finding that and reframing it and you know, as far as NLP goes, that's one of the tools, right? Reframing and having
Yeah,
the ability to reframe is one of the central tools to the whole thing and to help you move from A to B.
that's amazing. Oh, it's so interesting, isn't it? And we could talk about this all day.
Yeah, yeah.
Clearly.
There's loads. It is. It's. There's just so much. It's such a fantastic topic, but also it's, I say complicated. It's not complicated as such, but there's just so many different facets of it because of what it can
Yeah.
entail. So, yeah, we're trying to keep the examples specific to, you know, fitness and weight loss. And yeah, this, like I say, reframing and changing the language and how you talk and so on. That's one of the best ways to
Yeah.
move yourself forward.
That's amazing. So, how, if people want to give you a follow or learn more about NLP and what you do, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. I'm at Matty A Hill on Instagram, and you can also. I'm getting into the YouTube world, so you can also, if you find yourself enjoying YouTube videos, you can also find me on YouTube as well at Matty Hill, or if you just search Matty Hill in the search bar. Hopefully, given the amount of times I've been trying to post recently, I should come up. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed that it. But yeah, I'm
Matt is
at
like my
Matty Hill.
technical advisor. He's into
Yeah,
everything. If I try, honestly, he's probably sick of it. I'm always messaging, how do I do this? It's literally like my right arm when it comes to technology. So
So yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, so that's where I am. I am at Matty Hill
amazing.
YouTube or at Matty A Hill on Instagram.
Oh,
That's what
definitely worth
I
a
mean.
watch because I know you've been doing some crazy things on YouTube. It's been
Yeah,
going,
thank you.
well, doing all sorts. Have a look for yourselves. So thank you
Yeah,
so much for being a guest on the podcast.
thank you for having me.
Really enjoyed it. It's made me think a lot. It feels like a lot of information, but really, really interesting. And I think it definitely is reassuring to think sometimes, like the why behind why your head gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's such a it happens to everybody.
Yeah,
That's the one thing. If you take nothing away, the fact that everybody will feel like this, it's
yeah,
just some people have the tools, and everyone can have the tools, and everyone can learn the tools.
mm,
It just takes the initial action to start doing it and repetition. Like with anything,
yeah,
consistency and repetition,
yeah.
you can change how you think, you can rewire your brain, and you can then go and live the life that you want to live or achieve the goal that you want to achieve.
Amazing. Oh, that's a real positive to end on there.
Yeah.
Now I've got to go and reflect like what sort of parent I've been.
Yeah, that's it. That's your journaling prompt for this evening, isn't it?
I'll write down tonight, well, yeah, a list of how many ways I've probably scarred my children just through being tired and anxious. Thanks for that.
uh, Anytime.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Matty.
Thanks, Katie.